I have the power! Leo and I happen to love He-Man.
Yeah.
And we always make fun of the fact that, what, Leo?
Adam is He-Man, and Adam always goes away when He-Man appears and he doesn't come back with him. And also, they look so similar.
That's right. So we always laugh that nobody can tell the difference on Eternia, that Adam is actually He-Man.
They're all dumb.
And yeah, so in the same way, there's a lot of fantasy around survival knives online, and a lot of people can't really tell the difference between the practicality of knives versus axes. A lot of these survival channels, and knife channels, and this stuff, again, they try to sell this stuff to people as if this is, what you need to have with you in any kind of an emergency situation. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I have a collection of knives here in front of me. I've been collecting since I was around Leo's age. My father got me into it then, or I really liked it. So my dad started buying me knives, I guess, around that age.
That's pretty
and I've been collecting ever since. Yeah, so first knife is probably this one right here, the bad guy.
It's just to make fun of.
Yeah, so I think this was carved by my dad maybe years ago.
Or Victor. I don't know if it's Victor or your dad.
Could have been, yeah. We'll have to find that out. But it's wrapped in electrical tape, and Dad was an electrician. So that tells me this might have been an old knife that he carved for me when I was really young. And then I started collecting. I still have a great collection to this day. I'll talk a little bit about them. I'm not going to do a big review on these,
These are forestry knives.
Yes, that's right. These are mostly woods knives that we have on the table, with sort of an exception of these big things over here. But anyways, I won't go into a huge review because, again, you can go online and watch lots of videos of people batoning down through logs with these and trying to chop through trees with them and stuff like that. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about, is whether or not this is practical at all to have as a tool in the woods, at least here where we're at in Eastern Canada and the types of forests we have. It would be different if you lived down in South America, what kind of tool you might use, because I have no idea what's in the jungle and vines and whatever else Tarzan going on. But around here, there's a limited usefulness, let's say, for these here knives. So starting with the smallest one, we have an EC Izula 2. Awesome little woods knife. It's, I think, a high carbon steel, and I like this one over the skeletonized one because you got your handle here that gives you a little bit more purchase on it. Your hand can't ride up if you were to do anything like with a forward motion, prying or something like that. Your hand's not going to come up on the blade. It's got some jimping back there, and it's a really nice size to go and whittle and carve and do small bushcraft kind of tasks with. Next, we have a Gerber knife that I think was promoted for military use. It's got a glass breaker on the back, whatever you're going to do with that. It's got these funky holes for lashing it to a spear. Again, as ridiculous as that sounds, like anybody's going to go around spear hunting. And it's got a partially serrated edge. Anyways, it is a good quality knife. And I like that at least this part of the handle is rubberized, because cold weather around here, you really don't want to have any metal. So even back here, when that would get really cold on the hands, right? So at least it has a rubberized portion where most of your hand fits. The next one is made by Scrapyard Knives, made this one. And now we're getting into some really fine knives here. This is made from SR101 heat-treated ball bearing steel, I think it is. So really, really awesome quality knife. It's really thick spine, like probably 1/4 inch or something. These are all drop point in their design, because drop point knives are better for if you have your log, you hit into it, and then you can take another piece of wood and you can bang down and baton down through your logs. So most bushcraft knives have this sort of drop point to it. And this one, it allows you to choke up here for finer tasks if you need to. And it's got this really nice rubberized type of handle to it for cold weather, which is awesome. Next up is the Bussy Basic 7, and this one is really well known in knife communities. It's really expensive. I think this has the Infi steel, which is this crazy indestructible steel they put in nuclear bomb casings or something like that. So this thing's like basically indestructible little bushcraft knife. It's got the rubberized handle again, so your hands won't get cold using it. Nice drop point, nice thick spine to it. It's really lightweight. Beautiful, beautiful camp knife if you could ever find one, but they are a collector's item. I doubt you're ever going to find one. Then we get into these big buggers that we have over here. This is the Bussy Combat, or Bussy, I guess, knives. Nuclear Meltdown Fusion Battle Mistress is what they call this hunk of steel. And it's a monstrous blade made out of Infi steel, so just indestructible. But it's not very practical. It weighs a lot. It's got a full tang. All of these knives, I believe, are full tang, except maybe this one is kind of skeletonized, and probably not the Gerber. But anyways, it's full tang, meaning the steel from the knife blade here comes all the way back to the end of the knife back here, which makes it extremely strong. Beautiful scales on the handle on this. I think it was called Desert Sandstorm, something like that, scales. And I have this to pass down through the generations as just an indestructible pry bar of a knife that, 500 years from now, our ancestors may still have, because I don't think anything can possibly damage this or do anything to it. But that said, it's not really a very practical knife to carry or do anything with, and it's not even, how can I say, it's not agile enough for certain things. So I would, if anybody's interested and knows what this thing is worth and they're interested in making me an offer on it, put it in the comments section and we can talk, because I may part with that one. Last up is the Cold Steel Gurkha Kukri Plus. Awesome, awesome knife. This one feels very agile in the hand. It would work great as a bushcraft knife, although obviously very, very large. But it has a nice rubberized handle again, so that your hands won't get cold with it. This one does have a guard here, and I think really what this is designed for would be like trench warfare or something like that. That's what the Gurkhas used to use them in, I think, in World War II. That's what they carried, and it was for close range as opposed to bayonets. You could counter a bayonet and then use it. And so anyways, that's more of getting into that type of aspect of knife. But it can be used for both bushcraft or like a, army kind of usage. Anyways, you might be able to tell all of these are very pristine, partially because I collect them. And the other reason is because I have zero use for these knives. I've never gone out and batoned a stick of wood with them. I've never tried to chop through anything with them. I leave that to all these other characters on YouTube to go and do and show you how they perform, because none of them perform as well as even a basic hatchet. If you're going into the woods and you need to cut firewood to stay warm, or if you're just working like Leo and I do in forestry type of work, God help me if I had to process my 4 or 5 cord of wood every year using something like this and trying to cut through those. This would be a last ditch tool if you were really, really stuck. You could pull out a knife and you could try to hack limbs off of a tree or try to baton through wood for firewood. But I mean, you wouldn't even get wood cut to length that was enough to baton through with something like this. You'd need to at least have a saw with you, some sort of a buck saw or something, in order to chop your wood into lengths, because there's no way you're going to hack through stuff with one of these knives. And that leads me to the point of the whole video. And again, just to show you, I have several examples of axes over here. This is a cool little tomahawk. This tomahawk is lightweight, I would say even lighter than the Bussy knife, maybe on par with the Gurkha Kukri. And this here little thing would perform better than anything on this table if I were to take this out and I needed to limb or I needed to chop through a log or something like that. But I don't use these either. These aren't all that practical. Leo has a little hatchet that we don't have with us today, but that would be a practical little tool. Yeah. And these here going up in size, this would be what I would consider a limbing axe to a small felling axe. This is the Scandinavian forest axe by Grand Force Brooks. Really, really beautiful axe. I can't say enough about this. I use it all the time in the woods. I put the tape on there just to try to protect the handle from, I think it's called overstrike.
Yeah, and you need to go fast because the video